I wake up to the soft hum of my phone alarm, the kind that feels too gentle for how heavy the world is. I lie there for a few seconds, staring at the ceiling, not really thinking, just feeling the weight of the day pressing down on me already. The bills that need to be paid, the loan I'm trying to manage, the rent that I know is just around the corner, waiting like an inevitability. The sun is barely up, and I can already feel that familiar knot in my stomach. It's the kind of anxiety that's become routine, something I've learned to live with, even though I'm still not sure how. I grab my phone and scroll through my bank app, hoping for a miracle. Of course, there's nothing new, just the same zero after zero. My paycheck from last week has barely made a dent in the pile of unpaid bills, and it feels like I'm running on a treadmill, working so hard, but going nowhere. I get up, make coffee, and sit down at the kitchen table, trying to figure out how I'm going to make it through another month. I've stopped dreaming about a vacation or buying new clothes, those things feel so far off now. It's the little things that I try to hold on to, the small comforts. Like that cup of coffee. It's the only thing that feels like a personal indulgence anymore. I've had to stop going out with friends because I can't afford it. Even grabbing lunch feels like a splurge. I pack leftovers for work, always, because takeout is too expensive. I joke about it sometimes, but inside, it feels like a reminder of how small my world has become. Work isn't much better. I'm grateful to have a job, of course, but the hours are long and the pay is low. My manager talks about promotions and raises as if they're just around the corner, but I've been here for 2 years now, and nothing's changed. I know how it goes, always the same promises, always the same wait. I don't expect anything to change, but I keep showing up, just like I always do. Every morning, as I get ready for work, I remind myself not to look at the price tag of everything. Don't look at the cost of groceries, don't calculate how much gas will cost today, don't calculate how much of your paycheck will go towards rent. I've learned not to make it a mental game of how much is left. It's easier if I just pretend like there's always enough. Some days it works, and others, I'm left fighting the sinking feeling that comes with knowing that I'm stuck in a system where the rules are rigged. It's not that I'm bad with money, I've been careful. I've cut back on the things that used to feel like normal luxuries. I'm used to secondhand shopping, used to saying no to things I once took for granted. I'm good at budgeting, good at finding ways to stretch a dollar. But no matter how hard I try, the prices just keep going up. Rent, utilities, food, it's all rising faster than my income. It's exhausting. I'll never forget the day I realized how much I was struggling. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was sitting in my car during my lunch break, trying to figure out how I could make it until the end of the month. I opened my bank app, as I always do, to check for any unexpected deposits. There was nothing. I closed my eyes and sat there in silence, feeling completely drained. How could this be my reality? I thought about how much time I spent working and how little it seemed to matter. It felt like all the sacrifices I'd made, turning down nights out with friends, skipping meals to save money, were just a part of a system that didn't care. It didn't matter how hard I worked, how much I tried. It wasn't enough. Later that night, when I finally got home after another exhausting day, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at my phone. I wanted to feel hopeful, to feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but all I felt was a deep sense of frustration. There was no light. Just endless bills and expenses waiting to swallow everything I earned. I used to dream about the future, about getting ahead, maybe buying a house, or having the freedom to take a vacation without checking my bank account first. But those dreams feel so far away now. I can barely picture them. I've tried to remind myself that it's temporary, that things will get better. Maybe a raise will come. Maybe I'll get that promotion. Maybe the cost of living will slow down. But deep down, I don't know if I believe that anymore. The longer I live this way, the more I start to wonder if this is just the reality for people like me. People who aren't wealthy, who aren't given the luxury of stability. It's easy to feel invisible when the world moves so fast, and you're constantly trying to catch up. I've started making little sacrifices just to get by. I stopped buying the products I used to rely on, things like shampoo, conditioner, the foods I actually enjoy. I've learned to make do with what I can afford. I don't know how many times I've told myself it's just for now or I'll get through this. I keep convincing myself that the struggle is temporary, but each day, it feels less and less like a phase. It feels like this is the way life is now. At times, I get angry. I get so angry at the system, at the way everything is stacked against people like me. I see people posting about their vacations, about buying new clothes, and I feel resentful. But I remind myself, it's not their fault. They don't have the same struggles. I've tried to not let envy take over, but it's hard when it feels like everyone else is moving ahead, and I'm stuck in place. Even though I try to stay positive, there's a part of me that wonders if things will ever change. Will I ever feel like I have enough? Will I ever have a job that pays what I'm worth? Will I ever be able to afford the things I put on hold? The honest answer is, I don't know. I keep trying to convince myself that it's temporary, that it's just a rough patch. But deep down, I'm scared. I'm scared of being stuck in this cycle forever. Sometimes, when I'm alone in my apartment, I let myself dream for a moment. I imagine what it would feel like to finally break free from this constant pressure. To live without the daily stress of how I'll make it through the next month. I imagine what it would feel like to actually be able to save money, to not constantly worry about my next bill. But those moments are fleeting, because the reality always creeps back in. And so, I keep going. I keep waking up every day, trying to make it work, trying to hold on to what little I have left. I keep telling myself that I'll get there eventually, even though it feels like the road ahead is impossibly long. Some days are better than others. Some days, I feel like I can breathe a little easier. But most days, I'm just trying to keep my head above water, trying to survive in a world where everything costs more than I can afford. It's not easy, and it's not fair, but I don't know what else to do but keep pushing forward. All I can hope for is that one day, things will get easier. That maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way to break free from this constant struggle. Until then, I'll keep holding on. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I woke up this morning with a familiar knot in my stomach. It's the feeling that's become my constant companion, the anxiety of knowing the financial pressure I'm under is never going to let up. I roll over, grab my phone, and check my bank account like I do every morning. There's a few $100s in there, but most of it is already earmarked for the rent payment coming up next week. The rest? That's for groceries, gas, and any emergencies that might pop up, though I already know I won't have enough to cover everything. I don't know why I do this to myself. Checking my balance first thing in the morning is a ritual that never feels good, but it's one I can't stop. I'm 25, and it feels like my life has been a never-ending cycle of trying to make ends meet. I graduated college 2 years ago, feeling hopeful that the degree I worked so hard for would open doors for me. But here I am, stuck in a job that doesn't pay enough to cover even the basics. I'm working in a customer service role at a tech company, and while the job isn't terrible, it's not my passion. I thought I'd be further along by now. I thought I'd have a career, a steady income, and a sense of security. But instead, I'm still hustling just to get by, month after month, always a step behind. The worst part is that no matter how hard I work, the cost of living keeps climbing, but my paycheck doesn't budge. Rent has gone up every year since I moved into my apartment, and it's already a huge chunk of my income. I have a roommate to split the cost, but even then, it's still more than I can comfortably afford. Every time I get a paycheck, I feel like I'm running on a treadmill. I'm moving, but not getting anywhere. It's exhausting, and the exhaustion doesn't just come from work. It comes from the mental strain of constantly calculating, budgeting, and wondering how I'm going to cover all my expenses. The grocery store is a nightmare. I try to stick to a list, buying only the essentials, but somehow I always end up spending more than I planned. A few extra snacks here, a bag of frozen vegetables there. It adds up quickly, and I always feel a wave of guilt when I swipe my card, knowing I've just chipped away at what little I have left. I've stopped buying things I don't need, no more clothes, no more fun. When my friends talk about their vacations, or the new outfits they bought, I smile and nod, but inside, I'm wishing I could do the same. There are so many things I want to do, so many experiences I want to have, but they feel so far out of reach right now. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something small and indulgent without feeling like I was being irresponsible. I've stopped dreaming in the way I used to. I used to imagine traveling to new countries, experiencing different cultures. I wanted to see Paris, explore Tokyo, spend time in New York. Now, just the thought of booking a flight makes me anxious. How could I afford it? I can barely cover my bills. The idea of taking time off to go anywhere feels completely impossible. The only thing I can think about is work, going to work, getting through the day, making enough to survive the next month. It's a constant balancing act. Should I put gas in my car this week, or is it better to wait until next week, when my paycheck comes in? Should I buy that book I've been eyeing, or will I regret spending that $15 later when I realize I'm short on cash? I plan every single detail of my life. Even things that should be simple, like meeting friends for dinner, require a lot of thought. Can I afford to split the bill this time, or do I just get water and pretend I'm not stressed about money? It's exhausting to live like this, but I don't know how else to exist. The emotional toll is the hardest part. I feel like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to make me fail. The bills keep stacking up, but the paychecks don't increase at the same rate. I'm watching people around me move ahead, friends buying homes, going on vacations, saving for the future, and I'm stuck. I feel like I'm missing out on life, like I'm just treading water while everyone else is swimming towards something bigger. I don't want to sound bitter. I'm happy for them, I really am. But it's hard to celebrate other people's success when I'm struggling to keep my head above water. I try to tell myself that things will get better, that once I get more experience, I'll be able to move up in my job, or maybe I'll find something that pays more. But even when I look at job listings, I feel overwhelmed. Most positions that pay what I need require years of experience I don't have. The job market is competitive, and it feels like no one is willing to take a chance on me, even though I'm working as hard as I can. I think back to the advice people gave me when I was younger. Go to college, get a degree, and you'll be set, they said. I did that. And yet, here I am, struggling to make ends meet in a world that doesn't seem to care about my degree or my effort. The world is just moving at a pace that's impossible to keep up with unless you have a leg up, unless you have the kind of support that I don't have. And then, of course, there's the student loan debt. It's a reminder every month that I'm not just struggling with my current financial situation, I'm also paying for the past. I owe thousands of dollars, and even though I'm making my payments, the balance never seems to go down. It's like a weight I carry with me everywhere I go. I think about how much my life could change if I didn't have this debt hanging over me. How much less stressed I'd be if I could just put that money towards something that mattered, savings, an emergency fund, or even a small vacation. But instead, I'm paying down debt I took on for an education that hasn't led me to the life I envisioned. Some nights, I cry. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but quiet, heavy tears that just come without warning. It's the emotional weight of it all, the constant struggle, the feeling of falling behind. I try to keep going because what else can I do? But the reality is that sometimes, it feels like I'm fighting a losing battle. I try to cope by keeping busy. I go to work, I stay distracted with tasks, I do what I have to do to survive. I remind myself that I'm doing my best, that this isn't permanent. I tell myself that if I keep going, eventually, something will change. But it's hard to believe that when everything feels so heavy, when I look around and see that no matter how hard I try, I'm still barely keeping up. And so I keep going. I keep pushing forward, day after day, even though it feels like I'm trapped in a system that doesn't care about people like me. I hope that one day, things will get better, that I'll have the opportunity to break free from this cycle. But for now, I just take it one step at a time, even if it feels like I'm walking in circles. I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring. It's 7 a.m., but I've already been awake for at least half an hour. The weight of another day is pressing on me. The sunlight is barely creeping through the curtains, but I feel the exhaustion settling in as I open my eyes. The same tired thoughts roll through my mind. I know what today will be, another day of trying to stretch my paycheck just a little further, managing a list of tasks that seems to grow longer every week. I lie there for a moment, my mind racing. Rent is due in a few days, and I still haven't figured out how I'm going to cover the gap. I used to have a cushion, a small savings account that I could dip into when things got tight. But that account has been drained over the past year, inch by inch, like the slow drip of a leaky faucet that you can't quite fix. Every time something unexpected came up, my car breaking down, a surprise medical bill, or just the normal, everyday rise in prices, it seemed to chip away at whatever tiny financial peace I had managed to build. I can hear my roommate moving around in the kitchen. She's already up and making coffee, her loud, upbeat voice a stark contrast to my silence. She doesn't know what it feels like to live like this, to constantly juggle bills and worry if there's enough to cover everything. I want to tell her. I want to say, I don't know if I can make it through another month. But I don't. Instead, I force a smile when she asks if I want some coffee and go through the motions of getting dressed. It's not even that my job is terrible. I work at a small marketing firm, the kind of place that offers flexible hours, a decent work environment, and a team that's nice enough. But the pay? It's barely enough to keep up. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm already drowning in bills and student loans that I'm never going to fully pay off. I've got this sense that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I sacrifice, I'm stuck. I get to work, and it's like the world is spinning faster than I can keep up. I open my email, and there's a flood of requests from clients, updates from coworkers, deadlines I can barely meet. I spend most of the morning chasing my tail, putting out one fire after another. But there's always that underlying fear, the fear that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not keeping up with my own expectations, let alone the financial ones. Around noon, I take a break. I walk down the street to grab a quick bite, the same sandwich I've been eating for weeks now. It's the cheapest option in the area, and I don't mind it too much. It's just another reminder of how small my world feels, how limited my choices are. I check my phone for the umpteenth time, scrolling through my bank account to see if there's any new deposit. Nothing. The reality hits hard. My credit card balance is higher than I want to admit, and I know the minimum payment is due soon. Every time I make a payment, I feel like I'm only pushing the problem down the road, pretending it's not growing. I look at my friends on social media, posting pictures from vacations or new clothes, and I feel the sting in my chest. How is everyone else managing? I don't know anyone else who seems as stuck as I feel. I'm doing everything I can. I've cut back on things I don't need, no more weekly takeout, no more impulse buys at the grocery store. I've sold clothes and old electronics just to have enough to pay my bills. But it's never enough. The expenses keep climbing, and my income stays the same. By the time the workday is over, I feel like I'm dragging myself through the motions. I try to keep the tension out of my body as I get home, but it's there, always there, like a tight knot in my shoulders. I put my things down and sit in the living room, feeling the weight of it all. My roommate is out with her friends, and I'm left alone with my thoughts. I used to have dreams, big ones. I used to imagine traveling, moving to a new city, maybe even going back to school to get my master's. But these dreams feel farther away every day. They slip through my fingers like sand. I've told myself 1,000 times that I'll get there, that I'll find a way to save or to earn more. But the truth is, I'm running out of time. Every day feels like I'm losing ground. I try not to think about it too much, but it's hard not to. I start scrolling through job postings again, but none of them are anything I want. The pay is always too low, Or the job is just another one of those dead-end positions that offer no real opportunity for growth. Even if I could find a better job, it's hard to imagine how much of a difference it would make. With rent and bills eating up most of my paycheck, a small increase in salary wouldn't solve the bigger problem. I think about the future sometimes, but it's hard to picture anything beyond just surviving. I think about starting a family one day, but how could I ever afford that? How could I ever afford a house, or even an apartment in a place that isn't falling apart? I wish I could say I have some magic solution, some secret strategy that's going to turn everything around. But I don't. I just keep moving forward. I've learned to cope with the pressure. I exercise when I can, trying to keep my body from completely locking up. I journal when I need to get my thoughts out of my head, even if it feels like just a small release. But it's hard to find peace in all of this. My parents tell me that things will get better eventually, that it's just part of being young, part of learning how to manage. But sometimes I feel like I'm learning to survive, not to thrive. I want to believe things will get better. I have to, right? But the way things are now, it feels like I'm trapped in a system that's moving faster than I can keep up with. I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, trying to quiet my mind. I think about what I could have done differently, but there's no answer. I think about what my future might look like if I keep going down this path. And all I see is more struggle, more days spent worrying about money, more moments where my dreams seem out of reach. But even so, I try to hold on to some hope. I try to remind myself that even if it doesn't feel like it now, I'm working towards something. Maybe the road is longer than I thought it would be, but I'm still walking it. One foot in front of the other, even when it feels like I'm barely moving. Maybe that's all I can do for now, keep moving forward, even when I can't see the end. I wake up every morning to the sound of my alarm blaring, a noise that's only slightly more welcome than the weight that seems to settle on my chest the moment I open my eyes. The first thought that hits me isn't about what I'll have for breakfast or what my plans are for the day. No, it's a heavy, constant thought that never fully leaves my mind. How the hell am I going to make it this month? I don't know exactly when it started, this feeling of being trapped. Maybe it was gradual, like the way the sun creeps higher in the sky each day, or how the bills seem to pile up just a little faster than my paycheck could handle. But now it's this overwhelming, suffocating presence in my life. The bills come, each one bigger than the last, and all I can do is brace myself for the inevitable panic that rises in my stomach when I think about how to pay them. Rent is the worst. It's the monster that looms over everything. Every month, I tell myself I'm going to make it work, but somehow, no matter how carefully I budget or stretch each dollar, I always end up a few hundred short. The late fees pile up, and I can't help but feel ashamed when I get that email or text from the landlord. *You have an outstanding balance *. Of course I do. Doesn't everyone? We all seem to be scrambling to stay afloat in a world where nothing stays still. Everything gets more expensive. Rent goes up. Gas goes up. Groceries? Don't even get me started. I've cut back as much as I can. I don't go out anymore, not that I really could afford to. I've canceled subscriptions I once thought I couldn't live without. No more Netflix, no more Spotify. I only go to the grocery store with a strict list, and somehow, even that feels like a luxury when the prices are so high. I walk past the shiny aisles of fancy foods and tell myself I don't need them. I don't even buy snacks anymore, just the essentials. And still, it's never enough. I've tried everything to cope. I've looked for second jobs, but with the hours I already put in at the one I have, it feels impossible. I've thought about taking on freelance work, but there's always a part of me that questions whether it's even worth it. Even if I manage to snag a gig, will the pay really be enough to make a dent in the stack of bills waiting for me at home? Or will it just be another small piece of paper in the pile that doesn't solve the real problem? Some days, I feel like I'm living on autopilot, just getting by, but not really living. I don't have time for hobbies anymore. I don't have the energy to connect with friends the way I used to. I barely have time to think about anything beyond the next payment or the next bill or the next expense. There's a heaviness to every decision, even the small ones. Do I buy a coffee? It's $3. But if I buy the coffee, that's $3 I won't have for lunch. And if I don't eat lunch, I'll be miserable by 3 p.m. and have a hard time focusing on work. Everything feels like a trade-off. Everything feels like it's just one small decision away from falling apart. The worst part? I've stopped dreaming. I used to have big plans, dreams of starting my own business, of traveling, of maybe moving to a different city where I could start fresh. I used to imagine a future where I wasn't constantly stressing about bills, where I could afford to go out with friends without guilt, where I could invest in myself. But those dreams feel distant now, like something I can't even reach for. Each month is a fight to just survive, and the further I go, the more I realize how much time and energy those dreams have been stripped of. How can I dream about a better life when I can barely afford the one I have? And it's not like anyone talks about it. Everyone's in the same boat, it feels like. Friends don't want to admit that they're struggling too, so we talk about everything else, new movies, what's going on in our lives, but never the elephant in the room, how it feels to watch your bank account balance shrink with every passing day and feel like you're just running to keep up. Sometimes I feel embarrassed when I talk to people about money. I don't want them to think I'm irresponsible or that I'm not trying hard enough. The truth is, I am trying. I'm working as much as I can, I'm cutting back wherever I can. But it never seems like it's enough. And the weight of that feeling, the constant pressure of not being able to get ahead, has started to affect everything. It's affecting my mental health, my mood, my relationships. I'm always tired. I'm always anxious. And I don't know how to make it stop. Sometimes, when I'm lying awake at night, I let myself think about the future. What if I finally get a raise at work? What if I land a higher paying job? What if things just get easier? But those what-ifs are starting to feel more like fairy tales, not something I can count on. The economy is what it is. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. Jobs are hard to come by, and the ones that are available don't pay nearly enough to cover all the bills. I want to believe in the idea of hard work paying off, but the reality doesn't match up. I'm working my ass off, but the cost of living is just outrunning me. And I think that's what stings the most. It's not the lack of ambition, not the lack of desire. It's the fact that no matter how much you want something more, the system isn't built to help you get there. Every time I think I'm on the edge of catching a break, something else comes up. Maybe my car breaks down, or I need to replace my phone, or I have to buy something for work that I can't get around. The unexpected costs eat away at whatever small progress I've made. So, I keep going. I keep putting one foot in front of the other, but I do it with this quiet, steady sadness that seems to hover over everything. Some days, I don't even know what I'm working for anymore. I don't know if it's a dream of escape, or just the instinct to survive. Either way, I keep telling myself it'll get better eventually. I have to believe that, right? But the truth is, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. How long I can keep running on empty, feeling like I'm stuck in a system where the harder I try, the further behind I fall. There's a part of me that's terrified it will never get better, that this is just how life will be, endless cycles of scraping by. Still, every day, I get up. I face another round of choices. Should I pay this bill now or put it off? Can I stretch my paycheck just a little further? What can I sacrifice today in hopes that it'll make tomorrow a little easier? I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever get to a place where I'm financially stable enough to stop holding my breath every month. But for now, all I can do is survive. And maybe, just maybe, hope that somehow, some way, it gets better. Every morning I wake up with the same knot in my stomach. It's not just the grogginess or the pressure of getting up for work, it's the financial weight that hangs over me like a shadow. My phone's the first thing I grab, and I check my bank account like a ritual, the numbers telling me what kind of day I'm in for. There's not much to look at, just enough to cover my rent and barely anything else. Another week of scrimping. Another week of just getting by. I'm 23 years old. I should be in a place where I can feel optimistic about the future, where I can look ahead and see the open road. Instead, I'm constantly checking the balance on my credit card, calculating how much I can afford to eat out, or if I can treat myself to a coffee without it feeling like a massive indulgence. It's always a tightrope walk, and I feel like I'm always about to fall off. I graduated last year, thinking that once I had my degree, things would start to click into place. The job market would open up, I'd land a solid role, and my future would begin. But the reality is far different. I work a full-time job at a retail chain, earning just enough to cover the essentials, barely. Rent in the city where I live is through the roof, and I know that if I want to live alone, it's just not realistic. I have a roommate to split costs, but even then, it's still a struggle. The thought of one day affording my own place feels so far away I can't even imagine it. It's strange, the way you can feel like you're working so hard and yet still come up short. I clock in, I work my shifts, and I do what I'm supposed to, but everything feels out of reach. And it's not just about the rent, everything keeps going up. Gas prices are insane. Groceries get more expensive every time I go to the store. And I try to be smart about it. I buy store brands, plan my meals, keep my spending to a minimum. But it's like the price of everything keeps growing while my paycheck stays the same. And then there's the student loan debt. The monthly payments are there, reminding me that I'm already paying for a future that feels so distant. I don't regret going to college, but the idea of the loans never going away, of paying and never really getting ahead, is suffocating. It's a weight I can't shake. I look at my friends who have moved back in with their parents to save, or those who are lucky enough to have financial help from family, and I feel a pang of jealousy. They have a cushion, a safety net. I don't. Some days, it feels like no matter how hard I work, I'm always going to be stuck. I tell myself it's just temporary, that things will get better eventually, but sometimes, it's hard to believe. When I look around at my friends' lives, some of them traveling, getting engaged, buying their first homes, I can't help but feel like I'm falling behind. I wonder if I'll ever get to do any of those things. If I'll ever have the freedom to breathe without constantly calculating how much longer I can go before I'm back in the red. I'm not asking for much. I just want to be able to live without feeling like I'm drowning. I want to be able to save for the future, to take a vacation without guilt, to buy something new without worrying how it will affect my next paycheck. I want to be able to plan for something, anything, without the constant pressure of wondering if I'll make it through the month. And yet, every day feels like the same thing. I wake up, check my balance, try to budget for the week, and try not to think about the things I can't afford. I don't tell anyone how bad it is. I don't tell my family, because they're already struggling too. I don't tell my friends, because I don't want to feel like I'm burdening them with my problems. So, I keep quiet, and I push through. The hardest part is not knowing how long I can keep going like this. There are days when I feel like I'm just putting in time, waiting for something to change. It's hard to feel motivated when it feels like every step forward is met with 2 steps back. I tell myself I just need to work harder, that I need to push through, but the truth is that I'm exhausted. I'm tired of feeling like I'm never going to get ahead, of always being one unexpected expense away from a crisis. And then there are the dreams I've had to postpone. I've always dreamed of traveling. I've imagined backpacking through Europe, experiencing new cultures, and seeing the world outside of my small bubble. But that dream feels like a distant fantasy now. How can I think about spending thousands on a trip when I'm barely scraping by? How can I think about exploring the world when I'm just trying to survive in my own? I've also thought about going back to school. I wanted to pursue a career in graphic design, but that requires more education, more loans, more time I just don't have right now. It's not that I don't want it, I do, desperately, but the cost of it is too great. I feel stuck in a job that doesn't excite me, working long hours just to cover my bills. I can't even fathom taking on more debt when I'm already struggling to pay off what I have. But here's the thing, despite everything, I can't give up. I have to keep going, even when I'm tired, even when it feels like nothing is ever going to change. I have to keep pushing forward because that's all I can do. It's not easy, and it's not fair, but it's the reality of living in a system where the odds are stacked against you. I tell myself that I'll find a way out. That one day, things will get better. That one day, I'll be able to look back and see this as just a chapter of my life, a hard chapter, but a chapter one got through. But right now, the most I can do is survive. So, I keep going. I keep checking my bank account, budgeting, calculating, hoping that one day, my hard work will pay off. And in the meantime, I hold on to the small victories, the days when I manage to make it through without having to dip into my credit card, the moments when I don't feel the weight of my debt pressing down on me as much. I hold on to those small moments because right now, that's all I have. But even if it feels like I'm stuck, I'm not giving up. I can't. One step at a time, I'll keep pushing forward, because that's the only way I'll get anywhere. It's almost 7 a.m. when I wake up, but it feels like I've been awake for hours, my mind already running through a mental checklist of everything I need to do today. The rent's due in 2 weeks, and I haven't even started putting the money aside yet. I haven't been able to save anything in months, really. And it doesn't help that the rent keeps going up. It's $100 more than it was last year, and I know that number will keep growing. I get out of bed slowly, feeling the weight of it all already pressing on my chest. I check my phone, for unread messages, mostly work stuff, nothing urgent. The bank app is at the top of the screen, so I click on it instinctively. I don't know why. I already know it's going to be bad. The account balance stares back at me, a number so low it almost feels like a joke. I've spent the last few weeks juggling credit cards, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just digging myself a hole I'll never be able to climb out of. I make my coffee, the rich smell a small comfort, but even the warmth of the mug in my hands can't soothe the tightening in my stomach. I feel like I'm trapped in this cycle, getting up every day, putting in hours of work, and seeing the numbers barely budge. It's not that I'm not working hard enough, it's that the world around me keeps shifting, always making sure I stay behind. Rent, bills, gas, food, everything is getting more expensive. But my paycheck? It barely keeps up. Even the small joys of life feel out of reach now, like buying a new book or treating myself to a night out. Those things just aren't possible. I think about the things I wanted to do, things I dreamed of when I was younger, travel, go back to school, maybe even buy a house one day. It feels laughable now, as though they were some other version of me, someone with more time or more money or both. I could get a second job, but even the thought of it exhausts me. I've already been working full-time for a year, and it's draining. I'm lucky if I can squeeze in a few hours of sleep at night, and I've lost count of the weekends I've worked through, telling myself it's temporary, that this is all part of the hustle. But what if it's not? What if this is just how it's going to be? I try not to think too much about the future, but the weight of it presses on me every day. I watch friends my age post about buying houses, going on vacations, making big life changes, and I can't help but wonder what they're doing that I'm not. It's hard not to feel a little bitter. They've found ways to make it work, and I haven't. Sometimes I wish I could escape, disappear for a while and breathe without the constant pressure of bills and deadlines and expectations. I dream of just taking a few days to do nothing, to clear my head, but I know that's a luxury I can't afford. I've started budgeting more tightly, cutting out anything extra, no more nights out, no more coffees at the cafe, no more impulse buys at the grocery store. I write down every cent I spend, tallying it up at the end of each week, watching the numbers shrink and feeling both proud and terrified. I'm still not sure how I'm going to make it through the next few months without something giving out. Sometimes it feels like I'm walking a tightrope, balancing precariously, and I just know one wrong step is going to send me tumbling. The worst part is how isolated it makes me feel. I see everyone around me going on with their lives, planning things, buying things, moving forward. And here I am, stuck, just trying to keep my head above water. I'm afraid to talk to anyone about it because I don't want them to think I'm incapable or lazy. I don't want to admit that no matter how much I work, no matter how hard I try, I can't keep up. There's this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that tells me this is all my fault. That if I were just smarter, or more resourceful, or had better financial habits, I wouldn't be in this mess. But the truth is, it's not just me. It's the system. The cost of living keeps rising while wages stay stagnant or barely increase. It's harder to save, harder to invest in the future, harder to get ahead in a world that seems designed to keep you in place. But I keep going. I don't have any other choice. I tell myself that this is just a phase, that things will get better, but deep down, I'm not sure. I wonder if I'll ever feel financially secure, if I'll ever be able to make decisions without calculating the cost, if I'll ever be able to breathe without feeling the weight of everything bearing down on me. There are days when I don't know how to keep going. Days when the anxiety of it all feels like it's consuming me, when I lay in bed at night and wonder how long I can keep up the act, pretending that everything is fine when really, I'm struggling to stay afloat. But then there are moments when I feel a glimmer of hope. It's small, fleeting, but it's there. Maybe it's the fact that I'm still pushing through, that I haven't given up yet. Maybe it's because I've made it this far, and that means something. I keep telling myself that this is temporary, that I'll find a way out, even if it's not clear how yet. I'm trying to hold on to the belief that things can improve, that the future can look different. But the truth is, I'm scared. Scared that this is just how it's always going to be. That the dream of a better life, a life where I don't have to constantly worry about money, will always be just that, a dream. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe I'll get a raise, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll finally find a way to pay off my debts, or maybe I'll keep juggling them forever. But I'm here, still standing, still trying, even when it feels like the world is stacked against me. Some days, that's all I can ask for. I wake up every morning to the sound of my alarm buzzing relentlessly, the kind of noise that makes my heart race for reasons I wish I could ignore. The weight of it presses down before my feet even hit the ground, this nagging pressure that's become so constant it feels almost normal now. The pressure of bills, of rent, of groceries, of knowing that every dollar I make seems to vanish before I can even blink. I get out of bed and stretch, but it feels like my body is fighting me, like it's tired of being in this loop. I brush my teeth, splash water on my face, do the usual morning routine that everyone does, but it doesn't feel like just a routine. It feels like a performance. Every move is calculated to make it through another day, to survive another 24 hours without sinking deeper into the quicksand that is my financial reality. I'm 24, and I'm drowning. That's how it feels at least. Not in any dramatic way, but in this slow, suffocating process that eats away at you bit by bit. I'm not alone in this, no, I know a lot of people in my age group are feeling the same thing, but it doesn't make it any easier. The economic environment is worse than ever. Inflation is swallowing up what little I have. Rent is sky high, gas prices are ridiculous, and food costs are a joke. I'm constantly walking this tightrope, trying not to fall off. Some days, I think I can almost see a way out, and then I check my bank account and remember that the next paycheck won't cover half of what I need to get through the month. I take on more shifts at work, but it barely makes a dent. It feels like I'm running in place, working harder and harder, but getting nowhere. I used to dream about saving up for things, a vacation, maybe, or buying a car that doesn't break down every other week. But now, I don't even have the energy for those kinds of dreams anymore. They've been buried under piles of overdue bills and an ever-expanding list of expenses. Some days, I can almost pretend that it doesn't matter, that I can push through and just get on with life, but the cracks always show up. Like when I go out with friends and can't afford to eat out, so I sit there, smiling, pretending that I'm fine with a cup of water while they indulge. Or when I have to tell my mom that I can't help her out this month, even though I know she's struggling too. I hate that part the most, the guilt. The guilt of not being able to help the people I love because I'm too busy trying to save my own skin. When I'm alone, the weight of it all presses down on me even harder. The quiet moments are the worst. There's no noise to drown out the anxiety, no distractions to keep me from thinking about the future. What if this is it? What if this is all I'm ever going to be? There are so many things I want to do, things I dreamed about in high school, start a business, travel the world, write a book. Now, those things feel so out of reach, like they belong to someone else, someone who has the privilege of not having to worry every second about whether or not they can pay their rent this month. It's hard to explain to people who don't get it. People who tell me things like, just work harder, or you'll figure it out, it gets easier. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder. The system is set up in such a way that no matter how hard I work, I can't seem to catch up. My rent is constantly climbing, my student loans are a never-ending weight around my neck, and every time I feel like I've got a handle on one thing, something else breaks. The car. The computer. My phone. It's as if the universe is constantly testing me, and I'm losing every round. I think about my future a lot, mostly when I'm lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling. There's a part of me that wonders if I'll ever be able to take a break. A real break. A vacation. A day where I don't have to worry about how much the electricity bill is going to be, or whether I'm going to have to make ramen again for dinner because I don't have enough for anything else. Will I ever have the luxury of stability? Some days, I try to escape into small moments of peace. I go for walks, try to clear my mind. But it doesn't last. The moment I get back to my apartment, it all floods back. The thoughts, the worries. The reminder that life isn't just about living anymore, it's about surviving. I cope the best way I know how. I tell myself that I'm doing the best I can, even when it feels like I'm failing. I remind myself that everyone has their struggles, and this is just a phase, though I can't help but wonder how long this phase will last. I call my friends when I can't carry it alone, though it's hard to talk about the depths of my stress without sounding like I'm complaining. They try to reassure me, but I can tell they're tired too. It's a shared exhaustion, one that unites us but also keeps us separate. Everyone is fighting their own battles. The hardest part, though, is the loss of hope. It's like a slow burn that I can't put out. I used to believe in the idea of working hard and eventually reaping the rewards. But it's hard to hold on to that belief when you're constantly running out of time and money. It's hard to keep working for something when it feels like that something is always just out of reach. I try not to let the bitterness take over, but some days, it's all-consuming. I find myself resenting the people who seem to have it all together, the ones who aren't constantly calculating their next move. I wonder if they understand what it's like to look at an empty bank account and feel that cold, crushing panic. If they even know how exhausting it is to fight for every single inch of progress. And yet, I can't give up. I can't let go of the hope that maybe, just maybe, there's a way out. I tell myself that the only thing I have left is my will to keep going, even when it feels like I'm moving backward. Even when I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I dream of the future, of a life where I'm not constantly battling the weight of financial stress. A life where I don't have to choose between eating and paying my rent, where I can actually enjoy the small things without the constant dread of debt looming over me. Maybe that's all I have left now, dreams. Dreams that are just as fragile as everything else. But I hold on to them anyway. Because what else can I do? I wake up to my alarm, the same way I do every morning, but it feels different today. Maybe it's because I can feel the weight of everything before my feet even hit the floor. It's like I'm not just waking up to the world, I'm waking up to a new set of expectations that never seem to end. My first thought is always about money. Always. It's exhausting. I grab my phone and check my bank account. The numbers stare back at me, cold and unyielding. My paycheck from last week is already gone, spent on bills, groceries, gas. There's nothing left, not really. Maybe enough to grab a cup of coffee if I really need it, but I don't need it. I need something more, something bigger, but I have no idea how to get it. I pull myself out of bed, still holding my phone in my hand like I can will the numbers to change if I just stare hard enough. But I know they won't. They never do. The kitchen is small and cluttered, but it's mine, I guess. I make oatmeal because it's cheap and easy. I used to love it, would even add fruit, or honey, or whatever else I could afford to make it taste a little better. Now, it's just oats and water. That's it. There's no joy in it anymore. I eat because I have to, not because I want to. Eating feels like another obligation, something else I'm doing to keep my body running while my mind is stuck, spinning its wheels in a fog of worry. I think about my friends, the ones who talk about vacations, or new shoes, or getting a latte from the cafe that's on every corner. The kind of things that seem so far away from me now, like I'm looking at another world through a thick glass window. I wonder when I stopped feeling like I could have those things. When did it stop being possible to get ahead? When I look at my bills each month, they feel like the walls are closing in, a constant reminder that I'm not making enough. Rent is the biggest one. It's the same every month, and it eats up almost half my paycheck. Then there's the car payment, insurance, utilities. Oh, and student loans. I could get rid of the car, but I need it to get to work, so it's not even an option. And student loans? Those aren't going anywhere. So, every month, I'm left scraping together enough to cover what I owe, and somehow, there's always something unexpected that comes up, an emergency doctor's visit, a tire that needs replacing, or, recently, a huge spike in gas prices. It doesn't feel like life is giving me a break. It feels like life is a constant race, and I'm stuck at the back with no way to catch up. I know I'm not alone in this. Everyone I know is facing the same struggle. But that doesn't make it any easier. I want to believe it's all temporary, that this is just a phase. But what if it's not? What if this is the reality of the world we live in now? Everything costs more, and salaries stay the same. Even those little moments of joy, like going to a concert or grabbing dinner with friends, feel out of reach because of the constant pressure to save, to make ends meet. I remember when I used to feel like my life was ahead of me, full of potential, ready to explore. Now, it feels like I'm just trying to survive, to keep my head above water. I sit on the couch for a moment, scrolling through job listings. I keep telling myself that if I just find a better paying job, it will fix everything. But that's a lie I tell myself to feel a little less hopeless. There's no magic job that will suddenly erase this weight. Even if I did find something that paid more, would it be enough? The cost of living is rising so quickly that even a little extra doesn't feel like it will make a dent. I've read the articles about how wages are stagnating, how the economy is growing more unequal every year, but it feels like no one cares. I don't know who's in charge of fixing this, but I'm left trying to figure out how to make it work on my own. At work, it's the same story. I show up every day, doing the best I can, but it feels like the harder I work, the less it matters. There are always more tasks, more expectations, more pressure. And for what? A paycheck that doesn't stretch far enough. I don't have the energy to care about the little office drama, or the new initiative that's been assigned to me. All I can think about is how much of my time is spent just trying to hold things together, and how little of that time feels like it's for me. In the evenings, I try to unwind, but it's hard to forget everything. Even when I sit down to watch TV, my mind is racing with all the things I need to figure out. Sometimes, I don't even know if I can keep going like this. I'm tired all the time, emotionally drained in a way that no amount of sleep seems to fix. I talk to myself about doing better, working harder, but what does that even mean when the system is stacked against you? It's like trying to run a race with your legs shackled. There are dreams I had, things I wanted to do. I used to imagine myself traveling, seeing new places, living in a city I love, having a career that feels meaningful. But when I close my eyes now, all I see is bills, spreadsheets, and numbers. The idea of being able to afford anything that's not a necessity feels like a fantasy, something I'll never reach. I've had to let go of those dreams for now, push them to the back of my mind because I can't afford the luxury of hope. It's strange, but there are moments when I feel like I'm running in place, like all my energy is being used up just to survive, and there's no room left for anything else. Some days, it feels like I've resigned myself to this life, like I've accepted that the future will always be just out of reach. I don't want to be bitter, and I try not to be. But the truth is, it's hard not to feel resentful when everything feels like a struggle. I watch people around me who seem to have it easier, who don't have to worry every second about whether they'll have enough to cover the basics, and I wonder why it has to be this way. I wonder if it will ever get better. I don't have the answers, not really. But what I do know is this: every day, I keep going. Every day, I wake up and make it through another day. And maybe that's all I can do for now. But it's exhausting, and I can't help but dream of a future where I don't feel like I'm drowning. Where I don't have to fight so hard just to stay afloat. But right now, it feels far, far away. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I woke up with that familiar weight pressing on my chest. It's not from sleep deprivation or the usual worries. It's from something else, the sinking feeling that comes with being constantly broke. The alarm went off, and for a second, I thought about just staying in bed, hiding from the reality of it all. But I can't do that. I can't afford to waste time. The world doesn't stop spinning just because I'm tired, just because I'm exhausted from trying to keep up. I'm 26. I should be in a place where I'm starting to build a life, right? A career, maybe some savings, plans for the future. But instead, I'm stuck in a cycle where every month feels like I'm one paycheck away from disaster. I don't talk about it much, maybe not at all, but I'm drowning in the constant stress of living paycheck to paycheck. The math never adds up, and the balance in my bank account is always too close to zero for comfort. I've been out of college for a few years now, and when I graduated, I felt this rush of excitement. I thought I had done everything right. I worked hard for my degree, even though it wasn't in a field I was passionate about. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, if I stuck to the plan, everything would fall into place. But what they don't tell you in college is that a degree doesn't guarantee a paycheck that covers your living expenses. It doesn't promise that you'll be able to pay off your student loans, build credit, save for retirement, or even have enough to go out with friends on a Saturday night. I work a 9-to-5 job as a marketing assistant for a small company. I like the work, some days more than others, but it's not what I imagined doing for the rest of my life. It's a job I took because it paid the bills at the time, and now I feel like I'm stuck. There's no real room for growth, and I'm not sure I want to stay in marketing long term. But the reality is, I'm so tired of being in a position where I can't even think about a career change because I'm too focused on surviving the next month. Every day is the same. I wake up, check my bank account, and feel that knot in my stomach. There's never enough in there. Rent eats up most of what I earn. Add in utilities, groceries, gas for my car, and I'm left with barely anything. I know people who live in more expensive areas, and I wonder how they do it. How can they afford it? How do they not constantly worry about money? I've had to make some difficult choices, things like not going out with friends, skipping meals, or not being able to take on extra expenses because I'm already scraping by. It's a cycle of saying no, saying no, saying no. I get to the end of the month and feel like I've barely made it through. I try to be good about budgeting, but even that doesn't seem to work. The prices on everything keep climbing. Grocery bills? Through the roof. Rent? It's gone up every year since I moved into my apartment. Every time I get paid, I feel like the money slips through my fingers faster than I can keep track of it. I'll make a plan, stick to it for a few days, and then something unexpected happens, an emergency car repair, a higher than usual electricity bill, a forgotten expense that I can't put off. And I'm back to square one. It's like running in place. I've gotten used to the constant low-grade stress that comes with being financially strained. I try not to let it take over, but there's only so much you can do when you're trapped in a system that seems set up to fail. I've heard people say, just work harder, or you'll get there eventually, and I get it. I know that's supposed to be encouraging, but it's harder when you realize that no matter how hard you work, it doesn't necessarily equate to progress. There's this constant tug-of-war between the present and the future. I'm living for the now, because that's all I can afford, but I'm terrified of the future because I know I'm not setting myself up for long-term success. Some days, I think about the future, and it feels so far out of reach. I think about the dreams I had when I was younger, getting a house, maybe traveling, having the ability to take a break from work whenever I want. I think about the things that used to excite me, and I wonder if they'll ever be possible. It's hard to hold on to those hopes when your reality is a constant grind. Even small things, like planning a trip to see friends or getting a few new clothes, feel impossible. I haven't bought anything new in months. The idea of buying a new jacket or a pair of shoes seems like such an extravagance when I'm barely getting by. The hardest part is the sense of isolation. I don't talk about it much with my friends, because what can I say? They have their own problems, their own pressures. Most of them are doing better than me, and I don't want to burden them with my financial situation. I don't want them to look at me and think that I'm incapable of managing my life. So I keep it all to myself. I smile and nod when they talk about vacations, new cars, or buying their first homes. I try not to show that inside, I'm crumbling. I'm happy for them, truly, but sometimes, it's like everyone else is moving forward while I'm stuck in the same place. I've had to postpone so many dreams. The idea of going back to school for a career change is something I can't even entertain, because how could I possibly afford it? I want to get a second job to supplement my income, but I'm so burned out from working 40 hours a week already that the thought of picking up more work feels impossible. I just want a life where I don't feel like I'm constantly running out of time or options. But despite all of this, I'm still here, still trying. I keep telling myself that things have to change eventually, that I can't be stuck in this place forever. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I keep telling myself that one day, I'll be able to breathe a little easier. I'll be able to dream again without the constant weight of money pressing on my chest. For now, I just keep moving forward. I keep going to work, I keep budgeting, I keep trying. Some days are better than others, but it's the small victories that matter. The days when I don't have to make tough choices between rent and food. The days when I don't feel like everything is crumbling under the pressure. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see this as just a chapter. But for now, it feels like the only chapter. It's 6:30 in the morning, and my alarm goes off. I'm already awake, though, no need for the sound. The constant worry, the tightness in my chest, it never really lets me sleep through the night anymore. I grab my phone and scroll through the bills piling up in my inbox, all of them due within the next few days. Rent. Car payment. Utility bills. A couple of credit card balances that, for some reason, seem to always be higher than I remember. I stare at them for a few moments, willing the numbers to somehow change, to become smaller, but they stay the same. They're not going anywhere. I throw the covers off, shivering for a second, then force myself out of bed. I've got a full day ahead, but it's hard to feel motivated when you know the amount of effort you put in never quite matches the reward. My job is decent, entry-level marketing at a small firm, but it's not enough to cover everything. And in this city, with rent skyrocketing every year, every paycheck feels like a band-aid on a wound that won't stop bleeding. I throw on the first clothes I see. There's no real thought behind it anymore, just clothes that won't make me feel like I've given up entirely. The shirt is too tight, but I don't have time to care. I get in my car, which is older than I'd like to admit, and the engine sputters to life. Another thing that's been on the verge of breaking down for months. I'm putting off a lot of things like that. Repairs, medical appointments, the occasional night out with friends. All of it gets pushed to the back of my mind because there's always something more urgent: bills, groceries, the constant need to save for something that feels just out of reach. The drive to work is one of the worst parts of my day. It's not the traffic, I've gotten used to that, the slow crawl of cars, the beep of horns, the muffled chatter of people on their phones. It's the mental loop that keeps playing over and over. How did I get here? Wasn't I supposed to be further along by now? Weren't we all supposed to be on this clear path to success, to stability, to happiness? I think about the dream I had when I was younger. I wanted to work in a creative field, maybe write or design. I'd imagined living in a little apartment, a place I could call my own, filled with my art and ideas. I thought that, by the time I was in my mid-20s, I'd have some sort of freedom, a little breathing room. But all of that feels like a distant memory now. Instead of creating, I spend my time analyzing reports, drafting emails, and attending meetings where nothing ever seems to change. It's not fulfilling. But it's also not terrible, it's just fine. The financial pressure weighs on me constantly. It's like carrying a bag full of bricks, each one labeled rent, student loan, groceries, car payment. The thing is, the bricks never stop multiplying. Every month, there's more added to the pile, and the income never seems to catch up. I've started skipping meals to stretch my grocery budget, telling myself that it's fine to eat less today because there's a meal coming tomorrow. But there's this gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach, the anxiety that I won't be able to make ends meet if one little thing goes wrong. Last month, my car broke down on the way to work. I had to borrow money from my friend, Sarah. I hate asking for help. It feels like admitting failure, like I've somehow missed the mark so badly that I need someone else to catch me. But I had no choice. I didn't want to lose my job, so I scraped together enough to get the car fixed. It's just another thing to add to the list of things I owe people now. I tell myself that I'll get ahead eventually. That this is just a temporary setback. But deep down, I know it's not true. I look at the economy, at the way wages have stayed stagnant while everything else, rent, healthcare, food, keeps climbing, and I feel trapped. It's like I'm running on a treadmill that's always moving faster than I can keep up with. Every time I feel like I might get a break, the ground beneath me shifts, and I'm back at square one. Sometimes I think about leaving the city. It feels like a thought that comes to me in fleeting moments, like when I'm walking through the park after work, watching the sunset, or when I'm lying awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. Maybe I could move somewhere cheaper, somewhere I could actually afford to live, somewhere I could breathe. But then I remind myself that I'd have to start over, and the thought of uprooting everything, my job, my life here, seems just as impossible as staying. I try to stay hopeful. I've always been a dreamer. I used to imagine starting my own business, being my own boss, building something I could be proud of. But it's hard to dream when you're always worried about the present. How can you focus on the future when the next bill is already waiting for you? There are moments when I see my friends, and they don't seem as weighed down as I am. They're planning vacations, buying new clothes, talking about things I can't even fathom. I'm happy for them, but it's hard not to feel a little left behind. I feel like I'm playing a game with rules that I can't seem to figure out, like I'm always just a few steps behind the people around me. I try to cope the best I can. I've gotten used to saying no to things I want to do, to people I want to see. Sometimes I sit in my apartment on a Friday night, scrolling through social media, watching everyone else's highlight reel, and wonder if I'll ever get there. Will I ever feel like I'm living instead of just surviving? Some nights, I let myself cry about it. I don't even know if I'm crying about the money or just about the feeling of being stuck. It's like I've lost some part of myself, something I had when I was younger and everything seemed possible. But then, the next day, I pull myself up again. There's nothing else I can do. I don't have the luxury of giving up. And maybe that's the worst part, knowing that I can't stop. No matter how tired I am, no matter how much I want to hit pause and take a breath, there's no room for that. The world doesn't stop spinning. The bills don't stop coming. The weight on my shoulders only grows heavier, and I'm expected to carry it all without complaint. I feel like I'm supposed to keep going, keep fighting, even when it seems like there's no end in sight. But I keep dreaming, even if it's just a little. There's a part of me that refuses to let go of that, even on the worst days. Maybe things will get better one day. Maybe I'll get the job that pays enough to make this all feel a little less impossible. Maybe I'll find a way to live without constantly being afraid of the next bill. Maybe the future will offer me something better, something more than just this endless struggle. I hope that, one day, I'll look back and realize this was just a phase, a chapter in a much bigger story. I hope that, one day, I'll feel free. But for now, I just keep going. Because that's all I can do. It's hard to pinpoint the exact moment when everything started feeling too much. Like the weight of it all gradually crept in, a silent pressure building without me even realizing it. But if I were to guess, it was sometime after my last rent hike. I've always been a bit of an optimist, but I couldn't shake the sinking feeling when my landlord handed me that letter. Another $200. As if things weren't already tight. The rent's gone up every year since I moved into this apartment, but it wasn't until this last increase that I really started to feel the walls close in. I remember sitting on my couch, staring at the rent notice, trying to figure out where it would come from this time. My paycheck? Maybe. But then I would need gas to get to work, and groceries. There's always something that comes up to prevent me from getting ahead. It feels like the more I try, the farther behind I get. I've been living paycheck to paycheck for as long as I can remember, and there's a constant hum in the back of my mind, reminding me of how fragile everything is. I don't think I fully understood what financial pressure was until now. Until it became not just about numbers on a page, but a daily, suffocating weight. I wake up every day with a sense of urgency in my chest. The alarm blares at 6 a.m., and I force myself out of bed, trying not to feel the twinge of exhaustion from the night before. It's the same routine every day. I make coffee, grab a granola bar, and rush out the door, hoping that maybe today will be different. Maybe today, I'll have some relief. But it never happens. The bills keep coming, the cost of living keeps rising, and all I can do is try to keep up. At work, I'm constantly running behind. It's not that I don't care or that I'm not putting in the effort, it's just that there's never enough time to get everything done. I've been trying to climb the ladder, but it's like I'm stuck at the bottom, watching everyone else move ahead. I've been working at the same company for 3 years now, and I'm still in the same position. Same title. Same pay. I'd ask for a raise, but I already know what the answer would be. The economy's tough. They can't afford to give raises right now. It's hard not to take that personally, to feel like I'm doing all I can and it's still not enough. The worst part? I don't even know what enough would look like anymore. Even if I got a raise, would it really change things? Would I finally feel a little less stressed when the bills come in? Or would it just get swallowed up by the rising costs of everything else? The truth is, I don't have much time to think about the future. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, the future doesn't feel like something you can plan for. It's more like something that's always just out of reach. I've had dreams, of course, big ones. I wanted to travel, to go back to school, to maybe even start my own business. But every time I think about them, I can't help but feel that sense of heaviness, the realization that those dreams aren't going to happen anytime soon. There's no money for that. No room to breathe. I've had to let go of so much already. The idea of a vacation is a joke now. I used to love the idea of exploring new places, but now it feels like an impossible luxury. And even the little things, the small joys I used to get from a night out or a coffee with a friend, have become rare. I don't want to complain to anyone about it. I'm good at pretending everything's fine, at smiling when someone asks how I'm doing. I'm used to it now. But the truth is, it's hard to maintain that facade. I've become an expert at figuring out how to stretch a dollar. Coupons, sales, finding the cheapest option for everything. It's exhausting. I'm constantly doing math in my head, this bill, that payment, this expense, that unexpected charge. Every decision feels like it has a weight attached to it. Should I pay off this credit card or put the money toward groceries? Can I afford to fix the leak in the sink this month, or should I wait until next payday? And don't even get me started on the student loan payments that are slowly eating away at whatever's left of my paycheck. Sometimes, I think about how it used to be, before all the stress took over. When I was younger, I had this picture of what adulthood would be like. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it would at least come with some stability. Now, stability feels like a far-off dream. I want to believe that things will get better, but it's hard. The news tells me that the economy is recovering, but I don't feel it. Not where I am. I've tried to talk to my parents about it, but they're in their own financial struggle, trying to make sure they can retire someday. It's hard to ask for help when they're barely holding on themselves. So, I keep it to myself, except for the occasional vent to my closest friends. And even then, I can see the pity in their eyes. I don't want to be pitied. I just want to breathe again. I try to cope, try to remind myself that it's not forever. But when you're in it, it feels like you're stuck. Like there's no way out. Some days, it feels like I'm treading water, just trying not to drown under the weight of everything. Other days, I wonder if it's worth it, if this is just what life is now, a constant struggle to keep going. But I still hold on to something, even if it's small. I still believe that maybe, one day, I'll find a way to move beyond this. That maybe the next job, the next opportunity will be the one that finally gives me the breathing room I need. I dream of the day when I can pay my bills without worrying about whether I'll be able to eat that week, when I can finally take that trip or go back to school without looking at my bank account and feeling that familiar knot of anxiety. But for now, I take it one day at a time. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. That it's okay to not have everything figured out yet. And even though it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I try to hold on to the hope that it's there, somewhere, waiting for me to reach it. For now, though, I'll keep doing the math in my head, stretching every dollar as far as I can. I'll keep going, even when it feels like I'm running in place. Because that's all I can do. That's all any of us can do. And maybe, just maybe, one day it won't feel so heavy. It feels like I'm constantly running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, no matter how hard I try to catch up. Each day is just a series of little decisions, each one adding up to something bigger, something heavier, and none of them feel like the right ones. I thought being an adult would feel different. I thought there'd be more freedom, more excitement. But all I seem to have is bills, deadlines, and this creeping, gnawing pressure that never lets go. The cost of living is rising faster than I can keep up, and I don't know how to get ahead. I'm 26, and I can't remember the last time I felt secure. I grew up thinking that if I worked hard enough, everything would fall into place. I've always been a good student, a good worker. But somehow, all that effort doesn't seem to matter much when rent is due, and groceries cost twice as much as they did last year. When you're young, they tell you to follow your dreams, but nobody talks about the nightmare that is paying for basic survival. Take this month, for example. My rent's due in a few days. It's not like I'm living in some fancy apartment, it's a tiny one-bedroom in a building that's seen better days. The windows don't quite close right, and the paint's peeling off the walls, but it's mine. I don't even mind the cracks in the bathroom tiles or the neighbors who yell at each other through the walls, because it's the only place I can afford. I remember when I first moved in, I felt proud, like I'd made it. Now, every month it feels like I'm barely scraping by. I look at my paycheck and wonder if I'll have enough left over to buy food once I pay the rent. I've had to make sacrifices I never thought I'd have to. No more eating out. No more spontaneous trips to the coffee shop or the bookstore. I used to love those quiet afternoons, sipping on a cappuccino and flipping through pages. Now, it's more like waiting until I can afford the next trip to the grocery store. I used to dream of traveling, seeing new places, experiencing the world outside my bubble. But with gas prices, inflation, and everything else going up, that dream feels a million miles away. Even the smallest of pleasures are luxuries now. I used to think I could buy a new outfit whenever I wanted, but that was before I realized that half of my paycheck goes straight into my rent and utilities. I can't even remember the last time I bought something just for me. My clothes are all old and worn, and I wear them until they fall apart. I tell myself it's not that big of a deal, but when I see other people on social media with their new things, their vacations, it hits differently. The worst part is, I don't feel like I have any control. Every time I think I've caught up, another bill arrives. The student loan payment came back after the grace period ended, and now I'm scrambling to figure out how to make it fit. I'm barely making enough to cover the necessities, let alone any extras. It's hard not to feel like I'm stuck in a cycle where the goalposts keep shifting further away. I want to save, I want to invest in my future, but there's never anything left over. I look at my bank account after I pay all my bills, and there's nothing. Just a zero. And the worst part? I don't have anyone to talk to about it. I don't want to burden anyone with my struggles. Everyone else is just as stressed, if not more. Everyone's trying to make it work in the same way, trying to hold on to something, trying to find a way out of this mess. So, I keep it to myself. I smile, I nod, and I go on pretending that everything is fine. Because what's the alternative? People don't want to hear about your struggles when they're dealing with their own. And I've learned that the hard way. But every so often, the weight of it all gets to me. I'll wake up in the middle of the night, my heart pounding, thinking about the future. Will I always feel like this? Will I always be looking over my shoulder, worrying that I'm just one unexpected expense away from disaster? It's a hard question to ask yourself when you don't have any answers. I used to have big dreams, dreams that seemed so possible. But now, they feel like something that will always be just out of reach. When I was younger, I used to dream about owning a house, about having a steady career that I loved. Now, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I've thought about getting another job, working longer hours, but I know that would just put me further into the ground. Even when you work yourself to the bone, it still feels like you're falling short. The truth is, I don't even know what the solution is anymore. I just keep treading water, hoping I don't drown. I've learned to cope with it in small ways. I've started meal prepping so I can stretch my groceries further. I've learned to budget like a pro, cutting out everything unnecessary, Netflix, going out with friends, spontaneous purchases. I tell myself that it's all temporary, that I'm just in a rough patch, and things will get better soon. But deep down, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure what better even looks like anymore. It's hard not to feel disillusioned. I thought by this age, I'd have something to show for all my hard work. I thought I'd be able to look at my life and feel proud of what I'd accomplished. But right now, it feels like all I have are debts and a growing list of things I still need to do. There's always something that needs fixing. Always something I need to buy or pay for or deal with. I try to stay hopeful. I try to remind myself that it's just a phase, that the financial pressure won't last forever. But some days, it feels like that's just a lie I tell myself to get through the day. There's so much uncertainty ahead, so much I don't know. And sometimes, that uncertainty is more paralyzing than the actual bills. I guess, in a way, I'm just waiting for something to give. A raise, a breakthrough, a chance to finally breathe. Maybe someday, I'll look back and realize that all the struggle and hardship were worth it. Maybe someday, I'll be able to take a deep breath and feel like I made it. But right now, I don't know. Right now, I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, hoping that eventually, I'll find a way to step off the treadmill and feel like I'm walking on solid ground again. But until then, it's just me, doing my best, holding my breath, and trying to make it to the next month. Trying to make it to the next day. Trying to survive, even when it feels like the world is working against me. I'm just doing my best, and sometimes, that's all I can do. I woke up this morning to a buzzing phone, an urgent email about my student loan payment due in 3 days. I rolled over, groaning. It's always something, isn't it? Every day is a reminder that I'm just barely keeping my head above water. I'm 25, and I thought by now I'd have my life somewhat together, at least enough to have a little bit of breathing room. But here I am, checking my bank account like I'm doing some twisted math problem, trying to figure out if I can make it until the next payday without dipping further into my credit card. It's funny how, when I was younger, I imagined adulthood would come with more freedom, not less. I thought I'd have money saved up, my own place, or at least the option to go out and enjoy life when I wanted to. Instead, every decision is weighed against an invisible ledger that looms over me. The reality of the world doesn't match the picture I had in my head. Each month feels like a game of Tetris, stacking bills, loans, and rent into a neat pile of obligations that I can only hope doesn't collapse before the month ends. I got my degree in communications right out of college. I remember walking across that stage, thinking that the world was my oyster. But now, I work as a content writer at a small company that doesn't even pay enough to cover all my expenses. Don't get me wrong, I like my job, but the truth is, it doesn't feel like enough. I feel like I'm on this hamster wheel, running as fast as I can, and yet I'm not getting anywhere. Every morning, the first thing I do is open my bank app. This isn't the kind of morning routine that other people talk about, where they sip coffee and scroll through their to-do list. No, for me, it's checking if I've spent too much on groceries this week or if I can afford to fill my gas tank. I don't want to live like this, constantly in fear of running out of money. But the reality is, I'm always just scraping by. I can't even remember the last time I bought something for myself without feeling guilty about it. Last week, I needed a new pair of shoes because the ones I had were falling apart, but I hesitated for days before making the purchase. And even then, I couldn't get the price out of my head. I had to decide whether I could justify it, whether I could stretch my budget just enough to allow for it without ending up in a financial bind before payday. It's like that with everything. Every dollar has to be justified. I sometimes wish I could just enjoy something without running a cost-benefit analysis in my head. Rent is another thing I don't want to think about, but I have no choice. The rent hike this year was the worst one yet, and I had to scramble to figure out how to cover it. I live with a roommate to cut costs, but even with sharing, it's tight. I can't afford to live on my own, let alone in a better neighborhood. I look at friends who bought homes or moved into places with more space, and it stings. I should be at a place where I can afford those things too, shouldn't I? But instead, I'm counting pennies, hoping there's enough left over for food and a little bit of fun, even if it's just a cup of coffee with a friend at a cheap cafe. It's not just the daily budgeting that gets to me, though. It's the constant feeling of uncertainty. Will I ever be able to save? Will I ever be able to take a vacation without worrying how I'll make the credit card payment afterward? What happens if I get sick, or my car breaks down, or some other unexpected expense comes up? There's no cushion to fall back on. I think about the future and wonder how I'll ever be able to afford anything more than the basics. The thought of retirement feels laughable. How could I possibly save for that when I'm already in debt, living paycheck to paycheck? What's worse is the emotional toll this all takes on me. Financial strain isn't just about the numbers, it's about the constant pressure to be perfect, to always be on. I don't talk about it much, but I've developed a constant sense of anxiety around money. Every time a bill comes in, I feel like I'm being suffocated. I've stopped going out with friends as often because I can't afford it, and even if I could, I just don't have the energy to fake being okay when I'm not. I've started canceling plans last minute because I can't bear the thought of spending money on things I really want, but shouldn't indulge in. I don't want to seem ungrateful for the opportunities one gets, but sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in a system where I'm expected to keep up but no one ever teaches you how. And the dreams? They feel like a distant memory now. I used to dream about traveling, seeing the world, even just getting away for a weekend. I put all those things on hold because they don't feel practical right now. I've always wanted to go to Europe. It's something I've talked about for years. But I look at the price of flights, the cost of hotels, and I think, maybe next year. Except next year never comes. And the year after that? Probably won't either. It's heartbreaking, really, because I don't want to live a life where everything is put off indefinitely. But when every penny counts, even the things that once felt like possibilities are now just dreams I'll have to revisit later, if I'm lucky. I think about going back to school, maybe pursuing a career in something I'm more passionate about. But even that seems out of reach. The idea of taking on more student loans, just to add to the crushing weight of the ones I already have, terrifies me. I wish I could afford to invest in my future in a way that would set me up for something more than just survival. But right now, all I can do is hope that maybe, one day, something will change. But I'm not giving up. I know it sounds cliché, but it's the truth. I have to keep moving, even if it's at a slow pace. I have to keep hoping, even when it feels like there's no room for hope. I still dream, even if those dreams feel distant. I keep telling myself that one day, things will be different. One day, I'll be able to save without anxiety, travel without guilt, buy something just for fun without wondering if I can make rent. For now, I'll keep living this tightrope walk. I'll keep managing the small victories, making it through another month without slipping into debt, managing to save a little bit, even if it's not much. And when the days get too heavy, I'll remind myself that I'm doing my best, that I'm still moving forward, even when it doesn't feel like it. It's hard to wake up some mornings. The alarm goes off, and I feel like I'm already drowning before I even get out of bed. The weight of everything hits me before my feet even touch the ground: rent, student loans, utilities, groceries, gas. I can't help but start running through the list in my head, calculating how much longer I can keep this up. It's the same routine, day in and day out, but the stress is beginning to feel like a constant hum in the background of my life, always there, always loud. I'm 24, and I have a full-time job, which is supposed to mean something, right? I thought it would be enough, that doing the right things would lead to something better. But here I am, just barely making it, living paycheck to paycheck, feeling like I'm constantly on the edge of financial ruin. Some days, it's almost like I'm living in two separate worlds. One is this hyperreal world, where everything costs more than I can afford, where everything is moving faster than I can keep up. Gas prices rise, rent goes up, utilities skyrocket, and every month, I'm forced to decide between paying my bills or eating enough to feel full. It doesn't feel real, though. It's like I'm trapped in this endless loop. I'll sit down to pay my bills, and it's like I'm doing math that doesn't add up, like no matter how much I make, it's never enough to escape the weight of everything piling up. And then there's the other world, the one I try to escape to, even if just for a moment. It's the dream world I've built in my head, the one where I'm not weighed down by the crushing realities of money. I picture myself having a day where I'm not counting every dollar, where I can go out to dinner without wondering if I'm going to be able to pay for it. Maybe I'm traveling, living in a place I love, not constantly fighting to just survive. I've always had these dreams: being successful, having a career I'm passionate about, and just being able to live a life that feels real and free. But now, those dreams feel more like fantasies, things I'm scared to even say out loud because I'm afraid I'll jinx myself or make it too obvious how far away they feel. The hardest part is that I know I'm not alone in this. It's like a quiet epidemic, everyone's struggling in different ways, trying to make ends meet, but no one talks about it. I don't want to be the one who complains, because, hey, I have a job. I should be thankful, right? But no one talks about how hard it is to live in a world where the gap between what you earn and what you need keeps getting wider. It's not like I'm doing anything wrong, I'm working hard, but it's like there's this invisible wall between what I make and what I need to survive. The hardest thing is the emotional toll. There are days when I feel like I'm suffocating. I catch myself getting anxious for no reason, just this tightness in my chest that won't go away. It's the constant uncertainty, the idea that no matter how much I try, I can't seem to get ahead. That's the thing that wears you down, knowing that no matter how many hours I put in, how many side gigs I pick up, the bills just keep coming. Rent is up again next month. The electric bill jumped by $40 this time. I can't afford therapy. I can't afford to be sick. Some days, I feel like I'm holding my breath, waiting for something to change. But nothing does. I try to remind myself that this is temporary, that things will get better, but I don't know if I believe it anymore. How many years do I have to grind like this? I look around at my friends who are going on vacations or buying new things, and I can't help but wonder, how did they do it? Was I just unlucky, or is everyone just pretending like this isn't as hard as it feels? The hardest thing is feeling like I'm not moving forward. Every day feels like I'm on a treadmill, running and running, but getting nowhere. I can't save. I can't invest in the things I really care about. I try to push those dreams aside, but they always come back. What if I had the chance to pursue something I'm passionate about, something that fills me with purpose? What if I could go back to school, get a better job, start a business, or even just get ahead on my bills? But those are just things I think about in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. In the daylight, it's all about surviving. I'm not sure if I've even processed how much I've had to give up. There are no vacations, no treats, no spontaneity. I can't afford a date night, can't justify a shopping spree. I tell myself it's all temporary, that one day I'll look back on this and be proud of how hard I worked. But sometimes, it just feels like I'm stuck, and I don't know how to get out. So I cope the best I can. Sometimes, that means taking a deep breath and pretending I don't feel this overwhelming weight. I try not to let it show, not to make a big deal of it when I have to skip a meal or ask my parents for a little help again. I tell myself it's just a phase, that it won't always be like this. But the reality is, the longer I live like this, the more I start to wonder if I'll ever really be free. And then there's this dream, the one I'm too scared to admit I still hold on to. I dream of the day when I wake up and don't have to worry about money. I dream of the day when I don't have to make choices based on what's the least painful. Maybe one day, I'll find that balance, that place where I can save, where I can thrive, where I can breathe without this constant hum of stress in the background. But even now, as I'm writing this, I'm not sure when that day will come, or if it ever will. I just have to keep going, keep fighting, and maybe, somehow, make my way out of this cycle. It's hard to hold on to hope some days. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when everything seems so far out of reach. But I guess that's the only thing I can do, hold on. Keep pushing through. One day at a time. Maybe, just maybe, that will be enough. I wake up before my alarm every morning now, the kind of early where the world feels like it's still holding its breath. The light just barely leaks through the curtains, and in that quiet moment, I try to take a deep breath. I try to ignore the fact that my phone is already buzzing with notifications, some bill, some reminder that I've yet to pay it, some news about another cost of living spike, some person reminding me about the things they've already gotten. And then there's that moment when I remember that I don't have any room for any more reminders, because I'm reminded every day, and it's not a gentle thing. It's a pressure. I lay in bed for a minute longer, trying to gather myself. It feels like my life has become a never-ending balancing act. One wrong move and I'll fall, and there's no cushion below me. It's just a bunch of bills that keep getting bigger and bigger, while my paycheck barely increases. How do they expect me to keep up? When I finally force myself to roll out of bed, I feel the weight of everything, my student loans, my rent, the fact that groceries now cost more than a month of streaming subscriptions, the car payment, the rising cost of gas. I go through the motions, getting dressed, getting ready for work, but every move feels mechanical. I think about all the things I've had to give up just to survive this month. I stopped going out with friends, cut back on my grocery bill, ramen is the only thing I can afford to eat more than once a week, and I've basically forgotten what it's like to just buy something because I want to. The hardest part, I guess, is not even the fact that I've had to cut so many corners. It's that every time I think I might finally catch a break, it feels like something new gets added to the list. I tried to take a deep breath last week, really, and I thought, this is it. I'll get through this. Then the car broke down. It wasn't even something I could avoid. And suddenly, I had to figure out how to pay for that on top of everything else. I told myself I'd be okay. I told myself I'd make it through. But I feel like I'm holding on to the edge of a cliff, and every time I get a little bit of a grip, something shifts, and I feel like I'm slipping again. Some mornings, like today, I think about the future. I think about the dreams I once had. When I was younger, I imagined myself traveling the world, getting out of this city, meeting new people, and experiencing life beyond the confines of my cramped apartment. I wanted to make something of myself, create something meaningful. But those are dreams I've had to put in a box and lock away because there's just no space for them right now. There are days when I wonder if I'll ever be able to do any of the things I used to dream about. I wanted to open my own business, create something out of nothing. Maybe write a book. Maybe get into photography and turn it into something real. But every time I try to imagine it, I get hit with this gut punch of reality. How could I possibly focus on that when I have bills to pay? How could I even dream about starting something new when I feel like I'm just surviving? It feels like the world is spinning faster than I can keep up. Every month is a race to the deadline, to pay the rent, to keep the lights on, to buy food, to try to make sure I'm not too far in debt. And I know I'm not alone in this. A lot of people are in the same boat. My friends are all talking about how they're doing their best to make ends meet. We joke about it sometimes, about how we're all struggling, but the truth is, the joke's not funny anymore. It's exhausting. Even when I try to relax, I feel the weight of it all. The pressure isn't just in the back of my mind anymore. It's in my chest. Sometimes, I can't even focus on a TV show or a book because I keep thinking about money, about whether I'll be able to handle the next wave of expenses. I can't even enjoy a good meal without thinking about how much I'm spending. And when I look at others, people who seem to have it all together, people who don't stress about every purchase, I can't help but feel this ache. Maybe it's jealousy. Maybe it's frustration. But mostly, it's this feeling of being stuck in a system that's constantly moving the goalposts further away. I'm doing everything I can to stay afloat, but it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster. At work, things aren't any better. The pressure there is just as real. I don't have time to think about my future because I'm too focused on surviving today. And there's always someone reminding me to stay motivated, work harder, like it's that simple. I get it, we're supposed to strive for more. But how can I strive for more when I can't even make enough to cover the basics? And I'm so tired of hearing about side hustles or passive income. It feels like everyone around me has figured out the magic trick, and I'm just here, feeling stuck. How do people do it? How do they make it look so easy? But the truth is, there's no easy answer. I've started to wonder if anyone's really making it. Or if we're all just pretending, trying to keep up with a system that doesn't let us. Some days, I feel like I'm in a race, and the only thing I can do is run faster. But no matter how fast I go, the finish line is always too far away. I keep reminding myself that it won't always be like this. That eventually, things will get better. But it's hard to hold on to that belief when everything feels like it's moving in the wrong direction. I guess that's what keeps me going, the hope that somehow, someday, I'll be able to breathe. That I'll get a chance to live the life I want, the life I dreamed of. But I can't lie, it's getting harder to stay hopeful when every day feels like the same struggle. Every day, I just have to keep moving, even if it's just to survive another day. I think that's what keeps me going, though. The fact that I keep moving. Even when it's hard. Even when it feels impossible. There's this tiny spark in me that refuses to go out. Maybe that's the dream I can hold on to now, the hope that, one day, I'll be able to do more than just survive. That I'll be able to live again. But for now, I'll keep going. Because what else can I do? I wake up with the sound of my alarm blaring, but I don't jump out of bed like I used to. I've learned to let it ring for a while, mostly because I don't have the energy to move. The mornings don't feel like a fresh start anymore. It's not that I don't have dreams or goals, but it's like they're wrapped in layers of worry that I can't shake off. My eyes drift over to the bills on the dresser, each one a reminder of the mountain I can never quite seem to climb. I'm 25, just a few years out of college, and the reality of my financial situation hits me harder than I expected. I thought I'd be doing better by now, you know? I was told that after I finished school, I'd land a job and everything would start to fall into place. I didn't know that the real world would feel like this, like I'm walking on a treadmill set on high speed, but the scenery never changes. It's not that I'm not trying, it's that I'm not getting ahead. I work as a receptionist at a small law firm. It's not glamorous, but it's steady work, and honestly, I'm grateful for that. A lot of my friends are either still in school or hustling through temp jobs. But at the end of each month, I'm stuck staring at the same numbers on my bank account, trying to figure out how to make it all work. Rent's up again, and every time I get that email from the landlord, I feel my heart drop. I swear, they raise it just enough to make you feel it. I'm paying $1,200 a month for a one-bedroom in a neighborhood that's more up-and-coming than anything else, which means it's just a hair away from being unsafe. The place is small, and honestly, it's kind of depressing. The walls are thin, and sometimes, I can hear my neighbors fighting, or worse, I can hear the silence of not having enough space to breathe. But it's all I can afford right now. I can't move, not unless I want to risk living in a place that's way worse or way farther from my job. I know. I should be budgeting better. I should be more disciplined with my spending. But it's not as simple as just cut back. I try to limit the takeout, but it's not like I'm buying fancy coffees every day. Most of the time, I'm just scraping by. I don't even know how much I'm supposed to save every month, because once I pay rent, utilities, groceries, and transportation, I'm left with a fraction of what I need to make any sort of progress. The gas light in my car comes on every few days now, and it stresses me out. I keep thinking about how the prices of everything are just rising faster than I can keep up. Food prices? Ridiculous. Health insurance? That's something I can't even afford to think about at this point. Every time I go grocery shopping, I feel like I'm juggling. There are always these mental calculations happening in my head. If I get this, I can't get that. I try to go for the cheapest options, but even then, I'm not sure if I'm buying what I need. Last week, I found myself grabbing a box of off-brand cereal instead of the one I like, and it felt like a small loss, a tiny act of giving in to a world that's constantly telling me I'm not enough, that I need more, but never gives me the chance to get there. I try not to let it show, but it's starting to weigh on me. I thought I would have figured it out by now. I thought that after all the hard work in school, after spending years getting a degree, I would be on my way to something better. But instead, I'm here, stressed, exhausted, and questioning whether I'll ever really make it. The pressure doesn't just hit me financially. It hits me emotionally too. I've stopped making plans with friends because I can't afford to go out. I used to enjoy grabbing drinks after work, but now I can barely justify buying a coffee for myself, let alone spending money on things that are supposed to be fun. It feels like I'm always choosing between paying for things I need versus things that make me feel human. That's the hard part. I feel like I'm living in a world that doesn't leave room for relaxation or self-care. My days are just about getting through. They don't have the spark or joy I imagined they would. I've started avoiding social media a lot, too. I see people my age traveling, getting promotions, buying houses, or having these beautiful, carefree lives. And it hits me that I'm stuck. I want those things, but I can't figure out how to even start getting them. I think about my dream of one day owning a little apartment, somewhere I can feel at home, maybe even paint the walls. But that dream feels distant, like something that's reserved for people who have money, people who are ahead of the game. I wonder if I'll ever have enough to get there, or if I'm just going to keep chasing a future that's always out of reach. I often think about the future and wonder if things will ever get better, or if this is just how it's going to be. The idea of growing older and still struggling to make ends meet scares me. I don't want to be this person forever, the one who feels like everything is slipping through their fingers, like they're constantly falling behind. Sometimes, I let myself dream a little. I picture myself starting a small side business, maybe something creative, like photography or writing, but the reality always pulls me back down. The time I'd need to invest in it? I barely have time to sleep, let alone nurture a side hustle. I want to take control of my life and break free from this cycle, but it feels like the harder I try, the deeper I sink. The worst part is that I feel like I'm failing. Not just at my job or my finances, but at being the person I thought I'd be. I imagined having things figured out by this point, that I'd be living the life I dreamed about, working towards something, not just surviving day to day. I thought that if I worked hard, did all the right things, I'd be okay. But it's not like that. Life isn't linear. You don't just follow a set of steps and reach success. You have to fight against an economic system that doesn't make room for you unless you're already in the game. But here's the thing, I can't give up on myself. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm still here. And maybe that's enough for today. The bills will still come next month, and the stress will keep gnawing at me, but I've learned to take things one step at a time. I hold on to little bits of hope, the thought that maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way to break through. Maybe I won't always feel trapped in this system. Maybe there's something better on the horizon, something I can't see yet. For now, though, I just keep going. I keep showing up to work. I keep planning and saving and pushing through the moments when the weight feels unbearable. Because at the end of the day, all I can do is keep moving forward, even if it feels like I'm standing still. That's what I tell myself, I'm not stuck. I'm still fighting. And that's enough, for now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.